What's good? It's Woog. The Grammys have now concluded, and I just wanted to give some initial takeaways. First, let's just start with the four major categories. I was surprised at just about all of these results. When it comes to Record of the Year, props to Lizzo. I didn't think she was going to get the win. Quite frankly, I thought that either Beyonce or Adele would win two of those three non-best new artist major categories. So Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Album of the Year. I thought that either Beyonce or Adele would win at least two out of those three. And I actually thought that this was going to be the year for Beyonce. I thought she was going to earn her first Album of the Year with the celebrated Renaissance album. And if it wasn't Beyonce, then I would have said Adele wins two out of the three. And I thought that Kendrick Lamar might come out with at least one of those three, assuming Beyonce or Adele didn't run the table with all three. But no, we got Lizzo winning Record of the Year with About Damn Time. We got Bonnie Raitt winning Song of the Year with Just Like That. I didn't expect that result. And then we got Harry Styles winning Album of the Year. That might have been the most surprising to me out of all three. Like, with Song of the Year, sometimes it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes the answer might seem obvious, and then sometimes they'll kind of pick like an alternative pick. Rarely, even though now it's 2 years in a row where I was kind of thrown for a loop Album of the Year wise. Last year they picked Jon Batiste to win over albums that were both a lot more commercially successful and more critically successful. So that was a huge upset last year. This year, Harry Styles is a superstar name, so it's not as surprising as the Jon Batiste win. But when you consider this year's competition, from Beyonce's Renaissance to Adele's 30 to Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, even Brandi Carlile's In These Silent Days, I was not expecting Harry's House to win Album of the Year. I thought that maybe his song As It Was might win Record of the Year or Song of the Year. By the way, you hear those melody synth line similarities between As It Was and a-ha's Take On Me, right? But yeah, the major category surprised me because you also got Samara Joy winning Best New Artist. I was almost sure that it was either going to be Anita or Wet Leg. And the reason I say Wet Leg is because Wet Leg also cleaned up the alternative category. So Wet Leg won Best Alternative Performance or Song with Chaise Long, and then Wet Leg won Best Alternative Music Album with their debut Wet Leg. So Wet Leg somehow kind of captured a crossover appeal. Like, I look at their sound, like if you listen to the Chaise Long guitar riff, it almost reminds me of one of those Parquet Courts guitar earworms. And look, I like the Wet Leg album, but I didn't think that it was necessarily better than all of the other post-punkish, albums to come out over the past year, like Viagra Boys or Dry Cleaning. You had a lot of good stuff. I was just a little surprised that it was Wet Leg that broke through. But yeah, Wet Leg, they cleaned up in the alternative categories, so I thought that some of that might carry over into Best New Artist. Although, if you look at fanfare or who's the biggest global star, it's not even close. Anita runs away with that. Like, just look at my Best New Artist preview and then look at all the comments. It's like 90%, love for Anita. And so, yeah, I thought that either Anita or Wet Leg was going to win. And I really didn't think Samara Joy was going to win because of the genre that she creates in. It's kind of that traditional jazz genre. So I looked at this as being probably the biggest, Best New Artist upset since Esperanza Spalding. Also kind of like a prodigy. In the case of Samara Joy, she's a vocal prodigy. In the case of Esperanza Spalding, she's an instrumental prodigy. But, jazzy Esperanza Spalding beat out Drake, Justin Bieber, Florence and the Machine for Best New Artist. So yeah, I look at this Samara Joy win as being a pretty big upset. I was not surprised by Kendrick Lamar winning both of the rap categories, at least the biggest rap categories. So you're talking Best Rap Song, Best Rap Album. The Heart Part 5 won Best Rap Song, and Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers won Best Rap Album. Wasn't surprised about either one of those, mainly because, one, it's Kendrick Lamar. Anytime he releases, he's pretty much going to clean up, at least in the rap category. And the fact that he was nominated in all three of the non-Best New Artist major major awards, and that's, you know, cross genre. So record of the year, song of the year, and album of the year. Kendrick Lamar was nominated for all three. So I figure if you hit the major category, then you shouldn't have a problem winning your own genre category, because you know, the major awards are cross-genre, including everybody. So, yeah, was not surprised about Kendrick Lamar's rap category wins. Let's talk Producer of the Year. You know, I was long saying that Jack Antonoff should be a winner of Producer of the Year. This is around the time he was producing Lord's Melodrama, around the time he was producing, like, Taylor Swift's Lover, around the time he was producing Lana Del Rey's Norman effing Rockwell, which was the most critically acclaimed album of that year. I thought that he should have won Producer of the Year around that time, but he ended up winning it like a couple years later. Last year was his first Producer of the Year win, but this year I saw that he was nominated. Didn't think that he would or should necessarily win Producer of the Year, especially when you consider, one, the work that Boy Wonder, Dahi, I mean, I like Dan Auerbach's stuff as well. And then you've got the immensely talented and accomplished D-Mile, who, you know, writes and produces for everybody from Her. He's worked extensively with Bruno Mars. But yeah, I thought that either Boy Wonder, Dahi, or D-Mile was going to win Producer of the Year non-classical this year. But Jack Antonoff won it. I mean, he did produce the Florence and the Machine album, but I just didn't think that his body of work this year was as impressive as his body of work 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Now, he also produced Taylor Swift's Midnight's album, but it was outside of the window for consideration for this year's Grammys, so you could all but guarantee that Jack Antonoff is going to be nominated next year for Producer of the Year for his work on Taylor Swift's Midnights, and I expect Taylor Swift's Midnights to be up for Album of the Year. And then we've got Songwriter of the Year. This is the first of its kind. This is a new category, and Tobias Jesso Jr. beat out Amy Allen, Nyjah Charles, The Dream, and Laura Veltz. I kind of thought that The Dream might get it. I mean, he's done so much work with Beyonce over the past several years, and he's just done a ton of big time writing. I mean, his songwriting credits have their own Wikipedia page, so you can just take a look at his body of work. But I thought that he had a good chance at winning the first Songwriter of the Year award, but that went to Tobias Jesso Jr. And now let's talk a little bit about the performances. I thought that 50-year anniversary for hip hop, I thought that was brilliant. It was pretty much directed by Questlove and, you know, performed instrumentally on the drums by Questlove, but you had the 3 different chapters. You had a lot of participation from the Roots MC, or at least the chief MC of the Roots, the late great Malik B, recently passed away, but yeah, for a long time, Black Thought has been the sole MC of the Roots now, and he had a lot of participation in this. He was narrating a lot of it. He did a piece with LL Cool J, which, I mean, that's a rarity. If you get a moment with Black Thought and LL Cool J on the same stage, those are 2 of the best live MCs I have ever seen, especially when you consider like LL. Like, I went to, in LA, 92.3 The Beat was the main hip hop station along with Power 106. I went to a Power 106 Powerhouse, and I went to a 92.3 The Beat Summer Jam. At both of those, LL stole the show with his energy, with his vocal performance. Like, most MCs, most rappers aren't even built to project that strongly vocally while maintaining the breath control and showing the energy. LL is almost second to none when it comes to him giving his all in live performances. But yeah, you started, you know, near the beginning with the Grandmaster Flash. A lot of people think that that's the rapper who did the message, but no, the rapper was Melly Mel. Grandmaster Flash was the DJ, but you had the Grandmaster Flash piece in the beginning. Then you got into Run DMC, and both Run and DMC were there. LL, DJ Jazzy Jeff. Questlove said that Will Smith pulled out of the performance. You had Salt and Pepper. You had Rakim. So you had some of the old schoolers. You had Public Enemy, Chuck D, and Flavor Flav were up there. And then you went into Chapter 2, got some De La Soul, or at least Pasta News from De La Soul, representing the native tongues, which also includes Jungle Brothers and A Tribe Called Quest. But yeah, Pasta News from De La Soul held it down there. You had Scarface, Ice-T, Queen Latifah, METHOD, man, coming out and representing for the Wu-Tang. You had Big Boy. As soon as I saw Big Boy from Outkast, I knew we weren't going to get Andre up there. But the biggest applause. And I think that this might have been the biggest applause throughout the whole Grammys show was Busta Rhymes when he did his verse for Look at Me Now. That was that Chris Brown, Lil Wayne, Busta Rhymes collaboration. Super fast and charismatic verse. My brother sent me like a little video. It was hilarious, just kind of imitating Buzz. But like, Busta Rhymes has such a unique and strong voice. He's got such a presence, such energy. I've seen him live a couple times, and there is nothing like it. Like his voice and his resonance in his voice and his ability to articulate even in between, like the little nuances in each of the words. He enunciates extremely cleanly for how loud he projects and how many words he tries to fit in there with some of his verses. But he did Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. That's the hit you with no delay. And so what you saying, yo? Silly with your wife, grilly with the dilly, yo. So he went from Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See to Look at Me Now, killed it all. Missy came out too. And then they had the chapter 3 with some of the newer rappers, and then LL Cool J came back out at the end. But they also had Too Short coming out with Blow the Whistle. I did think that there should have been a little bit more West Coast hip hop presence. Yes, they did have Ice-T and they had Too Short, but I thought they could have gone just a little bit more. I don't know if like neither Ice Cube nor Snoop Dogg and others, wanted to participate. I don't know exactly what went into the selection of how this was going to be laid out, but props to Questlove and props to all the performers for putting together and putting on an unforgettable tribute to hip hop. This was fantastic, especially because you had to cram a lot into a little bit of time. So each performer had a pretty small window to operate in, sometimes like just 30 to 40 seconds, sometimes even less than that. But yeah, they kept it moving, they kept it fresh. I loved it. I also appreciated the award that was created in Dr. Dre's honor. So you had Dr. Dre come out to receive his inaugural award that's now going to be given to others, but it's going to maintain his name on the award. Thought that was really cool. The in memoriam, my goodness, like I knew that a lot of musicians had passed. I mean, it just seemed like every week, every other week, we were getting news of another key figure in the music landscape, historically or current, passing away. And there was just like so many names from so many genres, so many key players. It was really a tough one to watch because, if you're nostalgic like I am, like your mind is just kind of like processing, some of the songs, some of the moments, and they flash the images of the recently deceased. And I mean, it's just really sad because it was just so many names that right when you're just like processing one, then you're hit with another and then another and then another. And yeah, I don't know. I have to see how many names are usually included in these, but this year's list seemed particularly long. But yeah, those are just some of my major takeaways. Also, I'm going to do a separate video on the fact that Bjork is now 0 for 9 in the Best Alternative Music Album category. She was nominated once again, and once again, she did not come away with the win. I don't even know if she attends these anymore, but 9 nominations, 0 wins for the empress of the avant-garde, if you will. One of the greatest art pop and multi-genre and experimental pop and even non-pop artists that we've had in the last, 30-something years? Yeah, I was wanting Big Thief to win that Best Alternative Music Album award. Like, I thought that Big Thief had the best album in the bunch, but if it wasn't Big Thief, I thought that it was high time to give this award to Bjork, but it didn't happen. Again, Wet Leg won the alternative awards. But let me know what your thoughts on these Grammy performances were. I also like Brandi Carlile's performance. I thought it was cool when Nile Rodgers accepted the Cuff It award before Beyonce showed up. By the way, that last performance God did, Jay-Z did that whole verse. Jay-Z's like 50-something years old now. The fact that he was able to do that 4+, maybe even 5 or so minute verse just so cleanly without missing a beat, without getting into half of the line and then stopping and hoping somebody else fills in where you had to run out of breath and then catch back up on the next line. No, Jay-Z was able to do this whole thing just super cleanly. That was a moment to behold. Seriously, like when you have that sort of participation from Jay-Z, look, I don't know, and I saw this on Twitter, I don't know if the Carters are going to be back after Beyonce, who broke the record, by the way, for most Grammy wins total, which they do have way more categories, so it's easy to win more awards in contemporary years. And just as they were like really expanding the categories would align with when Destiny's Child and then Beyonce was really picking up steam. So yeah, congrats to her, has become the most winningest artist in Grammy's history, but I still don't think they did right by her because she still does not have an Album of the Year win, and she got, you know, kind of swept in the major categories. So it's like, on one hand, it's cool that you're being acknowledged in all of, she's basically always and often getting acknowledged in some of the genre-specific categories. Yes, Single Ladies, Should Have Put a Ring on It, has won a major award before, but no Albums of the Year. So yeah, I don't know how Jay-Z and Beyonce are going to take to that, but Jay-Z gave one heck of a performance at the end of the ceremony. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this year's Grammys in the comments. Did who you thought was going to win? And where did you get it right? Where did you get it wrong? Again, I didn't get any of the 4 major categories right. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.